This is Insight. Phone lines are open. Dial 384-2191.
We are on a Friday morning here on AM 1450 WDLB, and at this point in time here, it's the first Friday of the month. I say that, you know that if you're listening live on radio, but you could be watching on video, Marshfield Media Access here, because on the first Friday of the month, Mayor Bob McManus joins us on the radio. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you, too. I didn't know with that
storm.
storm.
How are things going?
Great. They are great. I would like to say, before we start, you guys here at WDLB, we're doing such a great job on the weather for weeks, and then you kind of messed it up over the last couple of days with that 8 inches or whatever we got. I wish you could have kept that north or south of us. But I'd love to give a shout out to our street crew that I think did an amazing job on this weather event, and they're still out and there's still more to do. But, our street crew just did an amazing job. And it was so much that, when people got up to go to work this morning, they were able to get through the streets well, and there's still some cleanup to do, but they did a tremendous job.
It's been, what I call it is Mother Nature put December and January this week.
Right.
It's been what we haven't had thus far, as much snow as we've had all winter long, is now going in here at this time.
What was the actual final count?
Well, uncharacteristically, or I should say traditionally, low at the Ag Research Station where official records are kept, it's going to go down to 6 inches.
Wow.
But you ask anybody, and they'll say, no, that's on the low side.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Now the blowing and the finger drifts and all that business is still going to be a problem.
Right.
So we're in a situation here where we are probably going to have some overtime and budgets and things like that going on, but you've saved up to this point, I hope anyway. We're in the new year, so calendar year will roll over into this part of into 2021 now.
Correct.
And be used against, hopefully we don't get another one in December.
Hopefully, right.
Because it's in the calendar year that the budgets are done.
Right.
Talking with Mayor Bob McManus on today's Insight program. Well, you have been a newsmaker here at WDLB, and I want you to explain what's going on, catch people up that may not be aware of what's happening here.
Well, and certainly not the kind of news you want to be a part of. So it was, it's been a rough the last several months with things that have gone on and things that have been said, and 20% of the information getting out, so it's been a rough, several months. The city has gone through a lot, and on this past council meeting on Tuesday evening. It was a special council meeting we had our normal council meeting the week before, and a couple of hours before the meeting, they received a complaint regarding me and a report that was done, an investigation that was done on me, and I'll explain that thoroughly here in just a minute. And the complaint was quite vague, but in getting that, Tom Witzel, the council president, appropriately so, called for a special meeting to go through the complaint. And so that special meeting was going to be the following Tuesday, so just this past Tuesday. In the interim, the complaint got stepped up to ask for my removal and from office, and then there's other things there. So based on this report. So that's what, and it was under Chapter 17, so that's what the council had to look at. So if you are looking at this from the council's position, which we have a great common council, a complaint was made by a citizen. They can't just throw it away. Otherwise, that's a typical government thing of, oh yeah, we got a complaint, but we're not going to do anything with it, because under Section 17, I believe this isn't fact, and I want to preempt everything that I'm saying to you today is my opinion. So, and the facts that I have are facts that I have, but this is all based on my opinion. But I believe under Article 17, if they don't do something, and if they don't look at the complaint and go through with the complaint, then then they could be subject to issue, and we certainly don't want that to happen. So with them going with a unanimous vote, they were kind of like in a darned if you do, darned if you don't situation. And so, somebody made a complaint, it's got to be heard. And so they came out of closed session to do, and then they had 4 or 5 different things to vote on, and that a complaint will be served. A bond will need to be posted by the complainer. Andy Keogh was the complainer or complainant, and so a bond will be posted, and then the city will need to go out, because our city attorney is not going to get involved because there could be bias there one way or the other. So unfortunately now, this puts us in a situation where we have to go hire an attorney for more legal issues, and it seems as though the city really has plenty of legal issues going on right now. But not everybody always takes that into effect. So let's go back and let's do a little history on what has taken place. When I ran for mayor, I did what everybody wants to do that gets into public office. You want to do good. You want to contribute. I saw some things going on that I really didn't know, but I didn't have any political experience other than, as I've told you before, PTA president. I wanted to contribute, and I wanted to help the people of Marshfield. And while I was running, I talked to a lot of city employees, and many that I talked to, many felt unappreciated. I'd heard that there were some things going on in different departments that weren't necessarily good. But again, that's just their opinion. And so I knew that there was things going on, but I didn't think that they would be certainly what I found out. And if you just go back and do a quick thing, we ended up having a massive accounting issue that was, in my opinion, not monitored and not overseen, to the tune of $1.8 million. For me, a $1.8 million oops is not acceptable. And in the private sector, it's not acceptable, but we're in the public sector. And, a development deal that was going on that was just not well done, questionable at best practices, and really no oversight. And this is one thing I didn't see, because as you know, I was a paramedic out in California in my younger years. I thoroughly enjoyed it. One of the things I saw even when I was running is on our fire department, it's like they're supposed to have 11 people on shift, and they only had 9. And that puts, there's a few considerations there. Number one, that puts the people there working a lot of overtime, if you will. It puts them at risk for that, and also it puts the citizens at risk if you only have 9 people. And then we started to do the transports, which I still think is a great thing for the city. But now if you don't have enough personnel, if you have 9 folks and 2 are on a transport to, say, Chicago, and another 2 of the folks go out on a traffic collision, that leaves 5 people for emergencies, fires, whatever, for the city. And that's just not enough. And so I started to look into that in the very beginning, and I worked with members of the PFC. I worked with Steve Barg, Ron Alman, the fire chief, and we looked at different ways, and we were able to come up with a way to get this paid for, which was good. And then we were able to get 1 more person on a shift, and that helped everything. So, and also, when I came in, I worked with many of the different department heads, and it wasn't an issue. One of them I worked with was Public Works, and I wanted people to, I don't know if you know this or not, and I know you do, there's a bit of sarcasm there. People are upset about the streets, lots of potholes and this and that, and always hearing we're going to get to the road. So I worked with Dan Connect, and I wanted to get a website up so that people could see what projects are going to be done. Number one, what are the projects, when are they going to be done, and how much are they going to be cost? I wanted it for 5 years. And working with Dan, he says, 5 years is too much of a variance. It can go... let's cut it down to 3 and let's put it up. And then he introduced me to Tom Turchi, brilliant, who knew everything about the streets. And they actually have a 10-year plan that they have. And we were able to put it in 3. So then they come up with this great website on our city website, so people can go and see when their street is going to be repaired. how much it's going to cost and everything. So it was a great thing. So working with different department heads and different folks and talking to people and telling them they're doing a good job, that's just pretty, I think, pretty normal of a mayor to do. Now, one of the other things that a mayor does is appoints people to committees, and there's many different committees. It takes place right after the election. So you appoint people to committees. So we have many different committees: Committee on Aging, Police and Fire Commission, the Utility Commission, Historic Preservation, Economic Development Board. We have a lot of different committees, and the people that work on those committees volunteer their time. Some of them meet for an hour a month, some maybe twice a month, and they are in different term years, so 2, 3, 4, 5 years, depending on what it is. And you look for volunteers there to do that. And there were some issues that I had. What I just, there were some things going on in the Police and Fire Commission that I was a little, I thought maybe a change would be good to bring in somebody with, a nominee that I was going to put up had several years in Marshfield or Marathon County, several years of law enforcement. And so I made a nomination of that person at the April 21st Common Council meeting. And that causing, and at the time, Andy Keogh, who had been on the commission, I believe, for 10 years. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that was the amount of time. His term was up, so it's not like he was being kicked out or anything like that. His term was up, just like other people whose terms was up and then somebody else went on. Well, a whole series of events took place at that time, and I could not figure out why there was so much concern over who was going on a committee, board, or commission, because we didn't have that type of activity anywhere else. Well, that Friday, the 24th, an open records request was put out on me from Randy Gershman of the Police and Fire Commission, and it's a sweeping open records request. Wanted information from even while I was running, phones, phone calls, text messages, emails, calendars, minutes of meetings that a lot. And okay, but I just couldn't figure out why, but it's an open records request, so you begin to fill it. And the city is the custodian of everything that I have. So they've got my phone, they handle the phone bill, my computer, so they've got all my emails, everything is in there. They've got access to everything. Of course, calendars. So this was a really, really big open records request, so it took some time for Steve Barg, a city administrator, the IT director, and many different people had to gather all of the information to fill this request. And the request was filled with the exception of some text messages that I had. And to be honest with you, I didn't take a look at any of the information that they had. I believe that they were the custodian of the information. And even when Steve Barg sent me, before an open records request is sent to the person requesting, the person that the request is done, in this case me, I can go through and I could take a look at everything and ask that, maybe something looks a little fishy, so I can write down what the thought process was, or make a statement about it if it would look questionable. And I told Steve, I don't need to look at it. Send it. I stand behind everything that I've done, because if you talk to most people in the city, they think I'm doing a pretty good job. Certainly, many of the employees appreciate getting, proper recognition for what they do, proper appreciation for what they do, because we do have a bit of an employee morale problem, in my opinion. So it was sent off. Well, apparently there was other text messages that weren't included. And so with all of the information that they had, I don't even know how many emails, 1,500, all the documentation and everything that was sent to them, they were concerned with that. So on August 6th, now you'll remember back in August and July, we were going through some pretty tumultuous times with potential issues going on. So then on August 6th, all of a sudden there's a report that I'm being criminally investigated, and it caught me out of the blue. And I will tell you, the toll that takes a person and his family is enormous. But it is enormous, especially when you've not done anything wrong. But you have to go through and do everything. So I was very confident about it. And I was very confident that there wasn't going to be any issue. So it was sent, I think initially it was sent to the Marshfield Police Department. And August 6th is a very key day. And then I think that they tried to go to Wood County, and they all thought, okay, we're too close to this. Obviously, Marshfield isn't going to investigate it because, that just wouldn't be good. Wood County was too close. So they sent it off to Portage County. And Portage County began their investigation. And they went through, and the complaint that's there on the police report, they started and they had a conversation with Randy Gershman, who's the one that is behind the complaint, and which he has every right to do. Going from there, then with all of the information was given, nothing was said about the emails, the 1,500 emails or anything else. It was the text messages. Okay. So that began that investigation, and they have to go through and they have to, investigate it. And they went through, they did an investigation. They did contact me, and I did seek an attorney, and the attorney told me that if you are contacted by the sheriff or anybody regarding to this, have them contact my office and we'll do all communications there. Well, when you have legal counsel, you take it. So the Portage County sheriff or deputy did call. He was very polite. And I says, we want to cooperate with you, but you've got to speak with my attorney. So then they went back and forth, and then at some point there, they then packaged up everything, and they had retrieved, even though I did not have them, they did get 172 messages from the police chief and a certain amount, I'm not sure the actual number, from the fire chief. And if you look at them, if you go through the text messages that are there's nothing in there. We were talking, and they even mentions it in the police report, that they were talking about city business. They were talking about grass clippings. There was one issue that people were complaining because we were going around talking to people about their grass clippings. However, we don't want grass clippings when people are cutting their grass to put them on the streets, because with motorcyclists, and I didn't know this before, but it gets very slippery. So, let's not put them in the street. Okay, so we had things like that and other things. Nothing big, nothing in relation to what they were asking for, and there was 172. Well, the investigator goes through and says, I have these text messages, and it doesn't appear to be anything other than city business with a log of what they are. So he now went through those text messages, and there's others that were not there, and then they send that to the Wood County DA. On December 8th, I believe it is, I'm not sure if it's the 7th and 8th. So let's just say in early December, I received a call from from my attorney, and he stated that he had been in contact with the Wood County DA, that they had closed the file and that there's no charges pending. And so really at that time, I thought we were done. It went through a full investigation, not just an internal one, but a police investigation. that where they had all the documentation and they filed no charges. So, you would think it was done, but what was really odd is you kept seeing different articles and whatnot about the investigation is going on, which is interesting. Well, now fast forward to a couple of weeks ago, when out of the blue, the Police and Fire Commission holds a special meeting to review the police report that was done, the investigation of the police report. And I'm just thinking, why would the Police and Fire Commission, this was done by a private citizen, Randy Gershman, in his private citizen role. Why would this be a subject? Because what's interesting is I've looked at many of the other different committees that they have, and none of them have had a special closed session meeting to go over a report on a investigation that was done and completed, and there's no charges. Not one. So that really gets my attention. But they have their meeting and they come out of there, no action, because realistically they can't. And then a few days later, another member of the Police and Fire Commission, Andy Keogh, files a complaint for removal. It blew me away. What are they so concerned about? What is going on? We have a lot of issues going on. We're spending an awful lot of money, in on a employee grievance issue. A lot of money. We're spending a lot of money on another investigation with a different employee associated with the police department. And now we're going to put the city through more expense. Now, Jeff, we just did a historic tax increase. And now we're just going to continually spend more money on something that is no charges. And it's just really interesting that this is all coming around. Again, two people that belong to a committee or a commission, but they are acting as private citizens. They have that right. But it just makes me question, what is going on? I don't have any other committee, not one other committee, that has this kind of issue going on, where they're going to this extent to kind of really, it seems like, control who is on their commission, and then now to kick out a mayor. We have enough going on nationally with the game that's that's taking place in Washington, D.C. Kick this person out, kick that person out. Yesterday we saw in the state, we have a mask mandate. Well, now, no, we don't. And then 5 minutes later, well, now, yes, we do. People are sick of this. They're sick of it. And now we even have this kind of game going on right here in Marshfield, Wisconsin. And I will tell you, when I ran for mayor, I honestly did not think that there would be this level of gamesmanship. And it would be very easy for me to say, I'm very fortunate that I have a great job. I have a beautiful wife. I love my wife dearly. I have kids that I adore. Why are they trying to do this? Do you really need the headache? And the easy way out for me, the easy way out would just be like, this is not a high paying position. Why bother? And do you know what? What's taking place with me right now is why more people, Jeff, don't get in politics. Because I will tell you, there are people that are in my opinion, far more qualified than I am, but they won't run because they don't want to put up with this stuff. They just don't. And I agree with them. And so the easy thing to do would be to resign. But I will tell you this, I've always fought for employees. And there are employees that we have that have feared, and I hear it from them. They fear saying anything because the fear of retribution. Sadly, they're watching that play out. If it just seems like if you don't agree with something, but it's only coming from one area, and so it is something that if the people can do what they want to do, they have their rights. So that I don't do. But if it's there's some awfully questionable things that have taken place. I brought rise to them. It seems like we keep uncovering things throughout the city that is wrong. And I will tell you, I'm going to fight for the city employees because let me tell you, they hear things that they shouldn't. We should be happy for our city employees. We should be thankful to them. And sometimes they get beat up when they shouldn't. But I also know that there are some folks in some departments that feel as though they can't say anything, and I'm staying in because I'm going to be their voice. I'm very passionate about it because it would be the easy thing for me to do. And believe me, I thought about it because it's not worth the what few voices are doing in the smear campaign. The dirty politics is sad. But I'm up for it.
Talking with Mayor Bob McManus. I haven't said much because on the Inside program, I've given you a forum here to respond to what has been news reports, and we don't have time in most cases to go through both sides here. But you, as a regularly scheduled guest on this program and what has happened here, I would give you the opportunity to state your point of view unencumbered here without me grilling you about details. We'll do that here in a moment. But for the first part of the program anyway, letting you say your piece, as the old saying goes. But I will say this, it's been over 20 minutes here, and it sounds to me like you're laying out a character assassination situation here as opposed to a criminal issue of any kind that has been already taken place.
Mm-hmm. Some people would call it a witch hunt. Many people have reached out to me I will tell you the amount of support that I've had from the community has been staggering. Staggering. And that was the term that many of them, when they talked to me, they said what it was. It just, I don't understand the basis for it. I really don't.
Well, we're going to get into that.
Sure.
In just a few moments here. Mayor Bob McManus, the first Friday of the month here on today's Insight program, coming to you on WDLB and on Marshfield Media Access.
Hi, it's Nikki Reiner, the Wenzel Family Plaza Director, and we have some exciting news here at the Plaza. As you can see behind me, we have an ice skating rink going up in the Plaza. We are so excited about this. We are partnering with the Parks and Rec Department, and this should be up and running by latest next week. As long as the weather stays colder, we will finally have this beautiful ice rink in the Plaza. We are so excited to bring this to the community, and I hope you guys are as excited as we are.
WDLB's Inside program here for a Friday, the first Friday in the month of February. As I often say, you know that if you're listening live, but if you're watching on video here, courtesy of Marshfield Media Access, I just wanted to set the table as to when this is, because as you watch this in the future, a lot of the things we talk about on this program may have been resolved or circumstances have changed. And I have Mayor Bob McManus on here. We have given you the forum to talk openly about the situation in front of the city here as we have reported it. And want to bring in News Director Mike Warren here, chomping at the bit to get a few questions in as well as the rest of us are. Go ahead, Mike.
There were... Mayor, you made mention of these reports that started to come out after, basically, I think you said, was it after the investigation said there was no wrongdoing? I think that's how I remember you said it, right? There was the investigation. It went from Portage County to Wood County. Wood County said there was nothing. That was found to be, there was, again, no wrongdoing. But then, so then now all of a sudden there's this complaint against you. I thought I saw one report alleging you had deleted text messages that I guess were the target of that open records request. Maybe take us through that. Any explanation there in terms of allegations that maybe records were deleted before an open records request was granted?
Sure, that's a fair question. Again, the city has access to all of my information. So, for instance, in my email inbox, when I get this and I'm done with them, they are deleted and they are kept in a deleted folder. I was under the impression that they were doing that. That's truly what I was doing. The other side of that is, in the open records request, it asked for certain people that had, the text messages. So certainly they could be done, which those can be, I don't know what the word is, not reviewed, or we could ascertain those messages from them, which is exactly what took place with Scott Owen, the fire chief, and with Rick Ramsey, the police chief. There was 172. And in review of the 172 with Rick Ramsey, there's nothing there. We were talking about the grass clippings and everything else. So, and this is why I believe once they did see what those were, at the final end of the day, there was no charges. And so if there would have been something, I would think, then they would have filed charges. But there were no charges. And for some reason, folks there's just some that just don't want to hear that. There was no charges. So now we're going to go have a hearing to basically kick out a mayor, and it was started by two people in a certain commission, as opposed to the will of the people. Now, again, when depending on what happens at the hearing, because the aldermen are going to make the decision whether I stay or go. And if they make the decision that I stay, then the citizens will be able to say whether I stay next April or not, which is realistically the way it should be. I don't know why the way it looks to me is there's a certain commission that not only wants to determine who's going to be on that, but they're also going to determine who's in the mayor's chair. I don't think that's right. But again, that's my personal opinion. People have the right to do whatever they want to do. But I will tell you, this is part of the fear of retribution that other people feel, which is why I'm standing up for it. Because it'd be very easy for me to just say, forget it, step down, and be done. The problem is the precedent that this is set to try to get people into public office it's even harder to get. I mean, look at our elections. Typically, when people run for alderman, nobody runs against them, and nobody runs against them. We can't get people to run for the thing, including the mayor. On the last election, I was unopposed. So, and now, do you think people looking out there are going to want to go through this? There's no charges, and we're still going through this. I could see if maybe even if there was a charge, there was no intent to do anything wrong. These other these text messages they have from the police chief and the fire chief, and in those there's nothing.
And this is the Fire and Police Commission the one that in recent, in the last, I can't remember what the time frame is, maybe in the last year, is that the one you've tried to make changes to? You've tried to, you made reference to one. I thought there was even another attempt at nominating someone for that commission, and this is all happening, oddly enough, at a time when you're trying to change the membership of the commission?
You're exactly right. And let me just say that we do not have this type of upheaval on any other committee or commission. Not one. Not one. And that of course is a concern. You know, when you have let's use a hypothetical situation. When you have a certain committee or commission where they really are concerned with who is on there and not wanting anyone different, that becomes a concern. There are people that would say something like that would be a good old boys club. And there have been references to that. I'm not saying that it is or it isn't. It just strikes me as odd. And a fight has to be done because, one thing I did, it's very, very interesting because on the agenda that was done on Tuesday, all of the news media and everything was very quick to talk about, they're going to kick him out and things like that, which I get. Apparently, they did not see the other thing on the agenda that was that day. There's been no interest in that. But they will probably be interested in that. That will be coming up again soon. And, at the end of the day, what is taking place is, in my opinion, that's wrong. Now, however, I'm the one that's dealing with this. But now what takes place is anytime somebody doesn't like somebody, all they have to do is file a complaint to have them removed, and then we have to go through this process. And in order for me to be removed, there needs to be a hearing, which there will. The council gets, the city attorney is not going to be their counsel, so we need to go out and hire outside counsel. Which seems to be a pattern that we're spending an awful lot of money, taxpayer money, everybody's forgetting that, on all of these legal issues, and they're really only coming out of one area. And so then, but even that, it would not be a prosecutor, but more or less an advisor to the council. I understand that the council is the one that holds the hearing, and they can call witnesses. I can call witnesses, and then at the end of the day, the council will vote on whatever they see fit. And I will be fine with their decision either way. The council are a group of respectable people. I have differences of opinion with some of them. Some of them I see eye to eye with. Some of them I don't. But I have a respect for the fact that whether I think that they're making the right decision or whatever or not, I know that they are doing it at least with the best intent of what they think is right for their constituents. And that's really the way it should be. We've just lost in this country, we've lost all ways of people to just sit down and talk and get out and air out grievances. What do we want to do now? We're in the cancel culture. So now anytime anybody wants to make a complaint, they've got it now. They can go to an Article 17, and then we got to try to kick somebody else out. Go through this, waste more money, and for what?
Let me try to boil this down, though. You're not into criminal charges.
No.
What this is a policy that you knew. In other words, these emails or these texts that were not found on your phone when you were sworn into office, and when the aldermen are being brought into office, you are counseled by members of the city that because you carry city computers, cell phones, and things, that you're not allowed to do anything like deletion like that. And these supposedly disappeared from your phone. It was subpoenaed, I guess, for lack of a better term, even though it's not in a court. It's just within policy. So what you're accused of is a policy violation of the city, and there's nothing criminal about it. But everybody knew, you knew that wasn't there, that you weren't allowed to delete them. The question is how, and I think what happened was you were quoted as saying that it happened within the department of the IT at the city was responsible for the deletion of those.
And there's part of the misinformation. Where was I quoted?
I didn't make it up. I saw it written somewhere.
Where?
Media? You want me to name the name?
I'm not interested in you naming a name. I'm just saying this is part of the problem. This is something that in the investigation, the Portage County Sheriff or deputy was was doing his investigation appropriately so, speaking with the city attorney and city administrator, and that's what they said.
They said
what you just said, but it gets
a policy violation, but not a criminal violation?
No. The other part
that it came out in the media.
No, that I was quoted as saying that about city staff, and that is Steve's interpretation of it, but we haven't got to mine yet. And so this is part of the problem, is what you are referring to is what is in the police report. And therein lies the issue. Now, is there the policy issue? Yes. And could there be an issue with that? Yes. However, we've got all the documentation of everything else and text messages back from the police chief and the fire chief, and anybody else that they requested the information from, say the city administrator or anybody else, we could have got the information. And that was the impression that I was under, was when the request was taking place, the city was filling everything. Whether I give them the text from, in this instance, we've got the 172 from the police chief, or he gives them, you're getting the information. Just like the emails, I didn't get them. That has always been my position. So there can be an argument made for a policy violation. They'll have to play that out and see if that is worth removing a mayor.
The other end of those texts, and this is as a citizen, I'm thinking to myself, well, if there was, say for instance, let's take the devil's advocate here. Say you deleted them. Okay, why? Well, because you didn't want somebody to see them. Well, it seems to me that whoever you talk to on the other end, it would be on their phone, and they're talking to city people, unless you're talking to someone, a private citizen, which then they can't subpoena their phones, which they wouldn't know.
That's exactly the situation. So when they were fulfilling the open records request, just like giving the emails, I didn't give the emails. I didn't go I didn't provide them with the calendar and the minutes of everything like this. City administrator did that. So I'm thinking, okay, if you can't get the information here, you could certainly get it over here. That's the whole argument. But that'll be for the hearing, and that'll be for everybody to make their decision on. And certainly, when they see what's in the text messages, there's nothing there. There's no there. But we'll go through a lot of expense.
As for that other item on the agenda you mentioned, it was review of fire and police commission members' activities and procedures. Now, the only reason that we didn't report on the other item is we couldn't. There was no action in open session, so we don't even know what it was about. When the council goes into closed session and talks about something and then comes out into open session and has nothing to say about it or act on it in any way in open session, there's nothing to report, and that's why nothing was said about it. Do you want to give us an update on that other topic so we can report about it?
Well, it's probably going to be on the agenda for this coming Tuesday night in open session.
Okay.
And so you will
then
be able
we can
to,
report about it.
You will be able to. Well, you can certainly ask about it. I mean, you can certainly. I just wonder if anybody from the media or anything thinks that this is a little weird that 2 members of the Police and Fire Commission are going to this extent.
Well, nobody cares what we think. We only report.
Or a question. Let me
yeah.
ask, I think that would be a viable
Right.
question.
Yeah,
so
it
you're
is.
right. I mean, I understand that you all have to report on what has happened.
Right.
I get that.
Yeah. Okay.
I get that.
So there was not, obviously, so then review of Fire and Police Commission members' activities and procedures coming out of closed session. There was nothing to report?
There was, there was nothing to report. To answer your question directly, yes.
Okay.
But I think if you put together the correlation of why did they have a meeting? Why did they have a closed session meeting? Now, apparently they can. I've not seen the Committee on Aging have a closed session meeting on this. It just seems like there's a real desire to control things.
Well, and now just to be clear about the procedure, the mayor in the city of Marshfield does not directly appoint people to the Fire and Police Commission. It's a nomination that goes to the Common Council, and
Correct.
It's the council then that ultimately votes on who's going to go on the commission, right?
Correct. So the mayor appoints and the council approves for all of the committees.
Okay, so if somebody's not getting on the commission, it's because the council decided they didn't want to make a change or didn't like the person being nominated by the mayor. Who knows why, right? I mean, we don't know.
I think those are very good questions.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
Okay. I have no further questions. Your witness.
Thank you, Counselor. Otherwise known as News Director.
Right.
Here on AM 1450 WDLB's Insight program this first Friday of the month. Again, I say that because things that we're talking about here may have already been resolved by the time you see the video on this. You can watch it at Marshfield Media Access. You can watch it at their Facebook page and on their website. Or you can see it at Channel 989 on your Charter Digital tier here on today's Insight program.
Do you ever sit at home and wonder what events are going on in Marshfield? Maybe you look at your phone and see a couple of events going on, but you know there's a lot more.
I know. I do this, and I've always wished there was one community calendar that was easy to access with the click of a button.
I know as someone that hosts events, I want a calendar that gives me a broad look at everything happening here in Marshfield. Not only can I see what is going on that day, but then I can make sure my events aren't competing with another.
We are part of the leadership class of 2020, and we've come up with a solution to this problem.
Introducing the Marshfield Minute.
When deciding on a calendar, we wanted something that was user-friendly and easily accessible.
We also wanted to be visible on an already active site, so we chose to work with Marshfield Media Access.
Anyone can submit an event happening in the Marshfield area, whether you are an event planner pushing out an upcoming gala or a school holding a fundraiser. This is the perfect way to get your information out.
This calendar is not only easy to use when submitting events, but it's very easy to get a snapshot of what is happening in Marshfield by the click of a button.
We invite you to go to the Marshfield Media Access page and check it out for yourself.
Make sure to check out the Marshfield Minute.
AM 1450 WDLB's Inside program here for the first Friday in the month of February. Mayor Bob McManus avails himself to us and your questions as well here, 384-2191 or 92 on today's program. Again, this first Friday of the month, you're watching us on video. It's already in the rearview mirror here, so some of the things that have been said or talked about on today's program may or may not still be in the vernacular of the time you're watching this. So we've been talking here about allegations against Mayor Bob McManus that came up on Tuesday night's council meeting to the point where are we now? They talked about it. They talked about what, your removal? I don't completely. They didn't say anything about anything other than, we'll review what? We'll keep that in
basically,
play?
a bond needs to be posted.
What does that mean?
From Andy Keogh. Well, before they start all the paperwork to go through with it, a bond would need to be reported or given to the city by Andy Keogh. And then they would start the process of...
a bond is a cash or a bond?
I'm not exactly sure.
Oh, okay.
He's working with Hap Wolfgram on that. So, because this is all, very rarely do they come up with the Section 17 issues like this, especially at the local level. But, and then there would be a hearing set. There would be a public hearing. And in essence, then the council, now this is my understanding, so this all could be different. So it's a learning experience for everyone. Would be the one asking the questions, calling witnesses, reviewing information, and everything else. And then I would be, so in essence, I think they would be I don't even want to know. I'd be able to represent myself. They represent that, doing their due diligence. And I'm not sure of the time frame of when this all takes place, but it should be relatively soon.
Because there's no need for legal counsel because it's not a criminal issue. It's simply a policy procedure that is
that's even, they are bound by removing an elected official is a big deal. So that's what it's all about. And it will require 8 votes for the removal to take place. And I have no idea where they're going to land on it. They have the information. They're going to review it. They're going to do their due diligence. And they will have the trial. And the chips will fall where they fall.
From a citizen standpoint, what I'm hearing is it's about texts that were deleted that could be ascertained elsewhere.
And many of them have been. Just like, as I said, just like when they went to the IT system, they could have gone to all the city employees that have received text from me and got them from them.
I'm not going to try you here on the radio.
No, that's okay.
But you're getting back to the comments that were supposedly made. Are you saying that you'd never made those and implicating the IT department?
I'm saying that the comments were from Steve Barg, I believe, in the investigation that he was doing with everything else. But it has been quoted that I'm saying that. And I guess we'll hear maybe something different when it gets to the hearing. But that's not what I said. That's what Steve Barg said. And Steve's a good man. That's what he said to the investigator.
All right. Well, I appreciate your candidness, your forthrightness, and coming here and availing yourself. And I gave you the time to talk because nobody hears, I shouldn't say nobody, but very seldom do we hear that side in the public sector. So,
well, and I really think it's important to be transparent with the public because most of the time these things happen in closed session. Nobody ever knows what's going on. And I just feel that, it's important that the information is out there. So there'll be, my understanding is that the hearing that will take place will be public, and the chips will fall where they fall.
All right. Well, again, thank you for coming in and talking with us.
All right. Thank you.
Mayor Bob McManus on the Insight program here this first Friday of the month of February as we are live on AM 1450 coming to you in video at marshfieldmediaaccess.org and at channel 989 on your Charter Digital tier as well. It's 11 o'clock.